The European Union's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, explained why he believed Ukraine needed more help from the international community. He said it was crucial to push back against Russian propaganda.
It's not a question of choosing between Ukraine and the others. We can do all at the same time. We care about Ukraine and we care about the rest of the world. And this is what we will do during this critical week, using this opportunity. We need to continue pushing back the Russia propaganda and its misleading narrative. Look at the data, look at the statistics. 2/3 of the Ukrainian exports have gone to Africa, to the Middle East and Asia. So it's not true what Mr. Putin says, that the grain that has been exported from Ukraine has not gone to the people that need it. We have also continued discussing about the proposal to establish an European Union military assistance mission. I can say that the work is underway, and I hope that we will see concrete results soon.
And Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson joins us now for more on the UN General Assembly. John, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. Now tell us, what is the UN General Assembly likely to do about Ukraine?
Hi ladies, great to be on Newsday. Well, it's a big week for the United Nations. This is the 77th meeting of the General Assembly. Around 150 world leaders are expected to attend. 2, though, will not be there. First of all, President Putin of Russia and President Xi of China, 2 key figures who ought to be in New York, but sadly will not be attending and sending their foreign ministers instead. As I said in my report, there are a number of major issues. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, says that the UN is meeting at a time of great peril for the world. And of course, there are, as I say, big issues facing us, not least the food crisis, the economic crisis, some of that connected to the war in Ukraine, and of course the war in Ukraine itself, which, although there will be other pressing issues, it's likely, as I said in my report, to take center stage in the coming days, especially as President Zelensky will be addressing the General Assembly. Expect a resolution on the war in Ukraine. We don't know what that will say just yet, but it will obviously call for an end to conflict and Russia withdrawal, and it'd be interesting to see which countries actually vote for that or abstain, because there are countries in the world who see an end to the war. They see there will be a new era afterwards, and some of them want to maintain good relations with Russia and therefore wouldn't possibly vote for a resolution. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm thinking here particularly of, for example, India or some African countries. So that's what we're expecting in the coming days, some resolution on Russia. But as I say, 2 key players are not at this General Assembly meeting that started a short time ago in New York.
And John, what is Zelensky likely to say in his address?
He is likely to say that the world needs to stay behind Ukraine. We need your support, he'll tell them. We need weapons, we need aid, we need billions, in fact, at the present time, and even trillions in the future for the rebuilding of Ukraine. And that will be a firm message from Zelensky to try to keep this support going. He knows he has the backing of Britain, Liz Truss leading a number of nations there in the support of Ukraine, following on from Boris Johnson's initiative, and expect, incidentally, for Liz Truss to actually visit Ukraine in the coming days and weeks as a show of support. He knows he has Biden on side. However, how strong the Biden government is at the present time, especially with the midterms coming up in November, we'll have to wait and see. But with those 2 nations, the US and the UK on side, and trying to galvanize support in New York in the coming days, he'll be welcoming that. He'll also talk about war crimes, alleged war crimes by Russian forces. As I said in my report, when towns are liberated by the Ukrainians, those that have been occupied for many weeks and months, there's evidence, clear evidence, Zelensky will say, of war crimes on the ground, torture chambers, Ukrainian soldiers and civilians shot randomly. When I was there in Ukraine earlier this year, I came across one example of a war crime of a 9-year-old boy watching his father and brother shot in front of him. So there's plenty of evidence there for Zelensky to get his teeth into and to keep reminding world leaders of what's going on in Ukraine and how much he needs their support, not only now, but also when it comes to prosecuting Russia for alleged war crimes.
Well, John, apart from the crisis in Ukraine, how much action are world leaders likely to take on climate change?
I'd like to say so much. I mean, you saw those images from Pakistan, the country still half of it underwater, thousands dead, now suffering from terrible diseases. But I'm afraid there will be no more, I think, no more than lip service towards climate change. There are indeed other initiatives going on throughout the world, following up from the COP26 meeting in the UK recently. But I'm afraid the UN General Assembly, although there'll be a lot of wringing of hands and promises to do something, I'm afraid major nations, especially those big polluters, will do very, very little to alleviate the problem, even though it's, time appears to have run out and climate change won't wait for world leaders to make up their minds.
And is there a danger of the meeting becoming just a talking shop?
Yes, most definitely. The UN General Assembly is notorious for world leaders, be they presidents, prime ministers, dictators, of appearing on the world stage, praising their achievements, blaming others for the failure, and yes, they will drone on, I'm afraid. That's from previous examples, previous General Assembly meetings that I've watched and attended. Yes, they will become something of a talking shop at time. But that doesn't really matter too much, because on the sidelines you have key bilateral meetings going on, for example, between Liz Truss and Joe Biden, Liz Truss and Macron. And incidentally, talking of Macron, watch out for his speech on Ukraine, because he may come up with some ideas for a solution to the conflict, as indeed Turkey might do. So all is not lost. Yes, of course, it's a talking shop. Yes, world leaders will drone on, but on the sidelines and at key speeches, we'll see something positive coming out of it.
Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.